And I think that's one of the superpowers that people have with ADHD is like being able to hop between all these different things and gaining that very broad set of experience, jack of all trades. And then that makes you have a very unique intersection of experiences and skills that like other people who are much more narrow minded. And there's pros and cons to both approaches for sure. But like just leaning into that. And for me, I thought that was a con for a very long time. Like I beat myself up over it because I'm like, why can't I just focus on this one thing? But now I'm like, I wouldn't be who I was. I couldn't do all these things that I'm doing if I didn't have this,
I
It's
think
like,
one of the problems is because in general, like entrepreneurs and people who have been diagnosed with ADHD are very creative. They also love to learn. I've found that's like the common theme. And if you love to learn, you're probably into self-improvement. And at some point, the self-improvement books that you've read, podcasts, um, films, whatever, a lot of the advice is probably aimed at people who are neurotypical. That's why the standard or what it is that you're measuring up against is like, oh well, I haven't done this. Something I heard the other day which I really like resonated with. I think is it the guy behind Dilbert? Is it Scott Galloway?
Scott Adams.
Scott Adams, sorry, Scott Adams. And I think it was like he was saying like instead of being like the top 2% or 5% copywriter, he's like, why not be the top 10% in the world at perhaps copywriting combined with video editing combined with public speaking, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you've got a bit of a killer combo that is very, very hard to replicate, basically. So it's and for most people, the hard bit is figuring out what that is. And actually, like, then it's, I think, probably the biggest barrier to actually, like, after you figure out what that is like confidence, like actually going and executing on that. Because are you confident that you're good enough to then go and do it, basically?
Yeah, and I think that's the issue is that a lot of people are insecure because you're kind of in a unique space. David C. Baker is an amazing kind of expert, and he talks about the positioning. Like he's for him, he's kind of the consultant for consultants, marketing agencies, whatever. But like his stuff applies to anybody, where it's just like, if you are not unique and you're a generalist, like, so an example is like, oh, we're a full service marketing agency, meaning you do everything like design, copywriting, website design, app development, all this other crap. Okay, well, what's your secret sauce? Like what is the thing that makes you unique? And for a lot of people, it's just like, oh, we're local. We're based in, Portsmouth. We're based in London. We're based in Dayton. And it's like, okay, well, that's great, but you're interchangeable with all the other dozens or hundreds of other firms that are in that region. What makes you unique?
It's
Truly.
I always go back to like the builder's analogy, right? So I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in the UK, you go by the builder that gets recommended. Because if you go on a website and you find somebody that's got a really fancy website or, loads of good reviews, it's still a bit sort of questionable whether they're a good builder because they're not busy. And so a lot of what you just said, we do a bit of everything as a digital marketing agency. They've built their business off a previous job, contacts that they know, and people referring them. And so the ironic thing is that the digital marketing agency doesn't market itself. It normally survives off referrals and mostly inbound from. So it's kind of and it has been like that for a long time. I think I used the analogy that they're on Companies House at one point, which is like the directory for companies in the UK. There was more digital marketing agencies and consultants than cleaning companies, which is actually it's a very, very good but competitive business, the cleaning business. So
yeah. And that's the thing is like, one person that comes to mind immediately, and he's been on the podcast a couple times before, is Christopher Silvestri. And like the thing that makes him unique is like he's a copywriting expert, but he's also a UX expert. So it's just like he's the intersection of UX copywriting. And I've brought him on many projects because that's a super unique. And to me, and I think to you, it's just like, okay, that's an obvious,
combination,
combination. But it's surprisingly rare for an
Mm.
individual. I mean, for teams, lots of design companies, agencies, whatever, have UX people and copywriting people in house, but to have an individual specialize in those two things, they complement each other so well. And I think that's the thing, like with the ADHD, is like you you lean into that, where it's like, yeah, you find that intersection of those different things, and it makes you super unique and stand out, where you're not just a full service marketing agency in Dayton, Ohio. You're this person that like anybody in the world is like, oh, I want to work with you because you're doing something that nobody else is doing. And I think if there are any like superpowers of ADHD, like I think that's definitely one of them, is just having such a diverse set of interests and accumulating. But I think unless you have that pointed out to you, or unless you just become old enough in your life where you've kind of reached a point of self understanding and success, I
Yeah.
think that's like lost. It was lost on me for a very long time. Was that the same thing for you?